Time is a constant for everyone in our reality, constantly running forward with not a stop in sight. But what if that time, or at least the age of your body, was reversed, and as time continued you would not get older but instead younger? That was the case for Benjamin Button, a man cursed to live life in reverse, forced to see his friends and his family get older as he got younger. You would start your life on your deathbed, and end your life when you become so small that you would cease to exist. Coming to realization of your situation, you would probably be sad and conflicted at first. Maybe giving up and locking that decision in stone within your old mind, which has never yet known change. You would sit there, stagnant in your rocking chair or recliner for years, not knowing when you would next move. The thought of leaving that dark hospital room was foreign, as you'd been there ever since you were born. You couldn't walk. You couldn't move around freely. You were stuck, anchored in your chair in your room, the only room you had seen at that point. Finally, you were young enough to go outside of that room. You were strapped onto a wheelchair, and they were finally going to show you what was outside. You were scared and conflicted. You didn't know what that world would be like. You didn't know what the sun would be like, how its warmth would feel, and if anything out there would truly be better than the room that you had been in all your life. It was unlike anything you could have imagined. The world outside was endless. There was possibility everywhere. You could be whoever you wanted. You were no longer stuck in that room, and your mind started to open up. No one was going to stop you anymore. For the first time, you left your chair, you left that hospital behind, and you went to go live with your parents, who awkwardly were the same age as you, but it was a life more than that room. In fact, you now had a whole house and an open world. So much and everything to explore. You hadn't seen anything before. Everything was new to discover. And you weren't going to waste all that time that you had left, like that time that was behind you. You started dreaming, and some of those dreams came true. You became a pilot to see that world that you so sought after. And you explored and saw so many countries. You saw the tropical islands, and you saw the deep cities, and time flew by in that plane of yours. You lost track of time, but you saw everything. Everything you could have dreamed of, everything you couldn't have dreamed of, everything beyond your imagination. It was all now in your hands. You were unprepared and living the high of life when it struck you hardest. As you were getting younger, your parents kept getting older, and eventually, one day when you came home, they weren't there. They had been transferred to a hospital, and they weren't going to make it very long. Your parents were busy when you were born and didn't have much time to spend with you on your hospital bed. So you quit your job, you were no longer a pilot, and you spent as much time as you could next to them on their beds, trying to make up for lost time. That time that you spent exploring the world, that time that you didn't think about the people who were closest to you. That hospital was like a fortress, the same one you were born in and the same one your parents are dying in. Made of bricks and locking whoever are there for years, or months, or weeks, however long they last. You had fallen back into the pit that you started at. You were sad and blocked everybody out of your life. You were almost college age now. You'd sat stagnant for a while again and saw the signs of aging reversing and started to get a bit concerned that you probably didn't have too many years left on your own. Your opportunities were crumbling away, and you were too young now to start over. You had lost all the time when you were old enough to get a job, to get a family, and to progress in your life. At this point, there really was only going back. As you continued to get younger, you thought that maybe it wasn't so bad. Sure, there are rough points, but isn't there in everyone's life? Your life is just as long as everyone else's, and instead of getting old and feeling your worst dying on a deathbed, you could instead get younger and get more creative and be mentally free. At this rate, as you got younger, you actually lost memories, and every year in school that you would learn something, the next year you'd unlearn it. And the cycle would continue, and you didn't care at that point. At that point, you were a child, and everything was open to your imagination. Once again, you were free. It felt like your creativity was blossoming. And you had accepted that this life of yours in reverse wasn't as bad as you thought initially. Sure, it was sad, sure there were problems, but in the end, you were just human.